Common Knowledge is brought to you by PureMTGO.com and InkedGaming.com. Use coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout for a 10% discount on all Inked Gaming supplies and accessories. You can support the show directly through Patreon at patreon.com/common knowledge.
This is the Common Knowledge Podcast. It's not about the cost, it's about the knowledge. Here are your hosts, Brandon Clark and Lauber.
1 second.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Common Knowledge Podcast. This is episode 48. I am your host, Brandon, and joining with me is the slightly warmer Sean the Lauber.
Slightly warmer than you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably true. We at
Sounds
least
like
have
we're
some
both...
form of... Yeah, we're both freezing, but we have some form of heating that's working.
I do fine normally. So, hey, not going to toot my own horn here, but I could have just stayed on my couch with my space heater and my big blanket playing Kingdom Hearts. And instead, I turned my space heater off because it's so noisy. And now I'm freezing, so I can deliver to you, the listeners, quality, premium, popper podcast content.
Pandemonium.
Yeah, that's probably a better word. It was Pandelirium. We could have been killed or worse.
That reminds... I'm not big on stand-up, so if I get the name wrong...
That was a Jeff Foxworthy joke.
Is he
from
another
when he
stand-up
was
comedian?
funny. He was. He probably still is. I don't know. I thought he was funny when I was like 10. He was you might be a redneck.
Oh, no.
If you are a redneck, then you might be a redneck.
Get that out of here.
And then he would go on his tour with Larry the Cable Guy. You remember Larry the Cable Guy?
Regrettably. I was going to say, so... I might have the name wrong, but you reminded me of a quote of, I think it's John Mulaney.
Oh my gosh.
The fact that any of us actually get off our couch and do anything is remarkable, because it's so gratifying when you don't. I don't, that's not his words, but like, you get the sentiment.
That definitely sounds like something John Mulaney would say. Oh my gosh. All right. For risk of turning this into an episode of comedians in cars getting coffee, we're gonna make sure we talk about Magic cards. Now I just want to talk about Jerry Seinfeld.
I might
okay.
ground
All right,
my
moving
cat
on.
from that toy.
I actually heard it this time.
Yeah. He loves it. Anyway,
That's
what's
great.
our subject?
Our subject is Ultimate Masters. We've got the full set dropped, and I know that we're a week late because in Futureland, when you're listening to this, the set dropped like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because I think we recorded our what do we want in Eternal Ultimate Masters the day before the full set was released, and then that just released today. For you listening to the podcast like a week ago, I don't know. It's time travel makes me confused.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to do our set review today, and we're going to talk about all the awesome cards in Ultimate Masters. And there's some cool ones. There's some fun things.
Yeah, they previewed that whole set in like a couple of days, and apparently they said when they made the release that they were going to do that, but I had no idea.
I missed it too.
The week before that, we were like, okay, well, they just dropped this big news that you can get to the Pro Tour playing Pauper, and we're like, we have to do that. And so we're just behind.
So we pushed our wish list show back a week so we could talk about that big announcement, and now
we got full punished.
Full punished. Yeah, now we're just incredibly behind. So
Mark Rosewater, the Punisher.
Got him. All right. Well, before we even do any of that, we are going to skip our card of the week because, well, we have like a lot of cards of the week to talk about this week, but we are still going to talk a bit about what we played and our escapades in the Magic the Gathering arena, as it were, or literally.
In Magic the Gathering Arena.
What are we playing?
Do you want to start? Because I'm pretty sure I'm reading this wrong, or it's a typo, or you typed it wrong, or you're on drugs, or someone. Are you safe? Is there someone with a gun in your house right now, and this is a call for help?
I'm okay.
What did you play?
They have my sister. No, I played Scred Delver. Yeah, I'm really getting excited, and for the playing competitive leagues, and I plan on just like taking all of my time that I was just playing friendly leagues, because the only reason I really have been playing leagues has been to really put a deck to the test and make a video. But now there's no reason, like, I have enough money that I can just play competitive leagues constantly. So I'm like, okay, I need to get all of my weird testing out of the way now. Let's see if I like this deck. And I've played it before, and I didn't really I put maybe like 10 games into it, but now I'm like, okay, let's really try Scred Delver. And my opinion on it is I've been closing out games incredibly slowly. I don't know if that's my play style. It's just like
it's not a fast closer. It takes its time. It really eases your opponent into a false sense of security when they think like, oh, I'm kind of ahead. They only have a few cards of the hand, and then bam, ninja.
Yeah, I was at 1 card in hand, and then I think the next turn I had 7. Like I was just like,
how many of those were islands though? 4?
2.
The answer is 4. No, because
2.
Gus draws 4 islands. Doesn't do anything else. That damn card.
Oh my gosh. But like, I've been experiencing like there was a turn where I spell stuttered 2 Seagate Oracles in the same turn. And like, it's just been feeling kind of nuts. Like I kind of expected it would. When I originally played the deck, I was having so many mana issues, and I just had to give it another try, I think, and getting rewarded for giving it another shot.
Yeah, and the mana issues are, I don't know, they're frequent enough that I feel like a lot of the format really hinges on, or I guess a lot of Delver's matchups in the format really hinge on being able to use Lightning Bolt and Scred early. Being able to get your mana online quickly is a really important thing. And sometimes it's just hard to get it online by turn 3 or sooner. And in a lot of cases, some of these other explosive decks can just already establish a pretty dominating board where you finally get your 1 red source and you're just like, well, the elf player got untapped already with their Timberwatch elf, so my bolt is dead for the rest of forever.
Well, I've been messing around a little bit with the sideboard, just because I think I sideboard a little bit differently than other people. I haven't been able to justify bringing in more than like 2 Pyroblasts ever, and so I think I'm going to free up some of those slots. But one thing that I really want to change in the main deck is I don't like playing 2 mountains. Like, it seems like the number of times I would want to double mountain, like double burn spell in a turn is
So are you thinking that you want to go down to 1 mountain?
Yeah.
1 red source?
That's been my feeling after playing the, 8 to 10 games that I have this week.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I definitely respect your process and your opinion, but I think I probably just disagree with that completely. But
I know that's why I haven't pulled the trigger, but like that's my feeling.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. A bit on Scred Delver. I actually did see a deck list that it top 8'd the most recent challenge. I don't know if you saw this, but I guess the Maverick Girl kind of had a hand in the success of this deck. I guess she kind of helped along the person who was playing it. He had never played before, and she was like, play this deck. And he played it to a top 8 finish. But it was Scred Delver, 0 Delvers.
Weird.
Same creature package, just no Delvers. Went up to 10 cantrips, added the 8th 1 mana removal spell, and then they added a Vapor Snag, and then they added a Vapor Snag. So they're playing, instead of 3 lightning bolts, 4 full lightning bolts, a Vapor Snag, and then 2 additional cantrips.
Hmm.
And I thought it was interesting.
Because that sounds kind of like what I would want to do, of just like cut down, like maybe cut 1 to 2 burn spells, probably the lightning bolts, keep the screds, and then cut a red source. And so I can play like 1 more 1 mana cantrip and like, a Vapor Snag.
Yeah. So I kind of really like that decision. So Scred Delver is sort of notorious for never flipping its Delvers, just because it's playing, 20 creatures and then 17 mana sources, 16, 17 mana sources. And
maybe to Scred Delver players it is, but sitting on the other side of the table, I never feel like that's the case. It's always just blind flips, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I never blind flip my Delvers in that deck, but so I thought it was kind of interesting. So Delver is one of the most powerful cards in the deck, but I think that Delver also contributes to a lot of the bad draws like that the deck could have, where you just like have a 1/1, you draw too many 1/1s, and you like never flip them. And like having Delver of Secrets in your deck makes you play a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think that like not having those Delvers sort of like it makes this deck feel like less of a tempo deck and more like just a mid-range deck where, I'm just going to try to 1-for-1 with your threats, and then slowly start getting ahead with my ninjas and my augurs and like my spells that, acquire are my spells that are like worth more than just 1 card. So like we're trading cards the whole game, but like my cards are worth 1.5 cards on average, and so I'm slowly just getting ahead. But like when you have Delver on turn 1, I think it leads to more aggressive play patterns where you're kind of like, protect the queen. I 2-for-1 myself to keep my Delver alive and got in 3 extra damage, but then it died.
Yeah, I've been letting those things die. Like I'm just like, well, okay, you spent 2 mana on my Delver. I got 3 damage. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, one time I played Delver turn 1, and then turn 2 I played Delver, and my opponent Echoing Decay, and that hurt.
Yeah. But I mean, that could have been the play pattern. But I guess like think about that if those were Fairy Miscreants.
I would have drawn 2
You would
cards.
not feel bad about those getting Echoing Decayed, right? But like if they're your Delvers, that feels bad. You just got 3-for-1. So I actually really liked, I'm going to call it innovation, taking Delvers out of this deck and just playing a Fairies package with Ninja the Deep Hours and just playing more cantrips, playing more removal spells. I really thought it was a neat deck, and I'm actually going to give it a whirl. But
I respect it just because playing the deck, I've felt like it is more of a mid-range deck, and like it plays better as a mid-range deck than a tempo deck. But
and I think that players often either don't understand that because Delver of Secrets is in the deck, or are just playing their deck incorrectly because they have these Delver draws and they're just trying to get there with Delver of Secrets and play this like tempo strategy of like, all I need to do is protect this 1 threat and then kill you with it. And that just, I don't think is a viable strategy. I don't know. I mean, I definitely have had draws where I just like play a Delver on turn 1, counter their removal spell, kill their blocker, and then I get there with Delver. But I feel like those are fewer and far between.
I'm feeling like that's not very often, and I'm just afraid to give up the Delver because I know that closing out a game is important. And
it does give you the best closing speed.
Yeah, and I don't want to give my opponent outs to just, okay, I'm only pecking in with a couple of 1/1s here, or just 1/1/1. So I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think that I found that that's what I had the biggest issues with Scred Delver was when I would get these Delver draws and I would try to play it like a traditional Delver deck, and I would lose a lot because of that. And then I started to realize like this is a mid-range deck, but its problem is its mid-range threats are Augur Bolus. And, Spellstutter Sprite and Ninja the Deep Hours. And, Ninja being your biggest threat, your best threat, it just doesn't give you a lot of closing speed.
Yeah, it takes forever.
Yeah, which is why I really, really like this blue-black Delver deck.
Yeah.
I just win so many games I have no business winning because I put my opponent on a 2-3 turn clock out of nowhere. I can land that Delver on turn 1. My Delvers flip very consistently in the blind because my deck is more set up to flip Delvers.
It's got 10 more instants and sorceries in it.
Yeah, and I just kind of crack my opponent a couple times. I make them react to my Delver. Like, I don't care if it dies. You can kill my Delver, and then I play a Gurmag Angler. It just has a much better closing speed, and I really value that in the format right now.
Yeah.
Having disruption is good, but with a lot of the more aggressive decks, you need a good mix of disruption and closing speed. You just need to be able to do everything, and I think that Gurmag Angler does that really well.
Maybe my feeling is that I just need to go to mono blue Delver and see if that's more my speed, because it might be.
I actually am a really big fan of mono blue Delver right now against most of the format. Obviously, like, Scred Delver is not a good matchup, but I think that against the rest of the format, you're probably the best Delver deck. And I think we've even said this. I've said this before, and I think you've agreed that we think that mono blue Delver is the best Delver deck for the meta. Scred Delver just beats up on mono blue Delver.
That matchup, I'm always afraid to say things about. That's all I'll say, because I'm afraid to say anything else.
Alrighty, so that's what we played. Let's jump into our set review.
Main topic.
Okay. Yeah, Ultimate Masters. They dropped all the cards on us. And are we ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Our first card is Mammoth Umbra. Umbra? I like Umbra. Anyway, it is 4 and a white for an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and vigilance, and it's a totem armor. This is really expensive.
Too expensive.
Yeah, I think it's out of the realm of playable. Yeah.
Next card is Lotus Eye Mystics. 3 and a white for a 3/2 human monk with prowess. When Lotus Eye Mystics enters the battlefield, return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand.
I mean, it doesn't target just auras or anything like that, so that's good. It's probably a little bit too expensive for my taste, and I don't think that the prowess pushes it over the edge that much. Like, I think if you're going for...
Auramancer doesn't just target auras, does it?
No. It's only Heliod's Pilgrim that does that, and it just irks me to no end.
Yeah, so I mean, this card is just not better than Auramancer in the decks that want to be doing this. I don't think you need a bigger body with prowess if you're doing like weird enchantment graveyard shenanigans. You probably don't care about punching them in the face with a big body. So you'd rather just play Auramancer, I would assume.
Yeah, and if you need Auramancer 5 through 8, this isn't even it, because we have 2 copies of Auramancer already at 3 mana. They're both 2/2s.
Oh yeah, what's the other one called?
Don't ask me questions I don't know the answer to. It's like...
Soul Warden? No, that's the
like,
one that gains life.
Is it Monk Idealist?
Monk Idealist. Wow, you're a genius. Yeah, it's Monk Idealist. Yeah, so we already have 8 copies. So I guess if you really need copies 9 and 10, you might be able to just get away with a Heliod's Pilgrim in some cases, but this, I guess, will be your 9th and 10th copy.
Yeah, I think you're going for Heliod's Pilgrim first. I think this is copies like 13 13 through 15. Whatever.
Yeah, play cards that don't even exist before you play with this in your enchantments graveyard deck.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna do it. But the next card is one I'm super hyped for. This is one I actually asked for in one of our previous episodes, because versions of this were printed at Common, but they weren't printed at Common on Magic Online, and I think we needed this effect. I'm super excited for it. The art is amazing. The card is Resurrection. It is 2 white for a sorcery. It says, return target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. So we have our first real reanimation spell. Exhume kind of counted, but this doesn't have that weird mirror effect that makes it kind of awkward to play and gives you bad matchups. This is just, I reanimate a card, it's in play.
Yeah. So I think one of the big things about Resurrection, a lot of people that I've seen are looking at this as like Exhume copies 4 through 8 in your Exhume deck. And I just think they go in different decks. Like Exhume being 2 mana, it lends itself to these more combo style reanimator decks. Whereas a card like Resurrection, I see just being good in just like a good mid-range deck, you know? Like I'm gonna get back a threat and I'm gonna outvalue you that way. I don't really see this like I don't really see this going into some sort of black, white, red or black, white, blue reanimator deck. I just don't think that's gonna work very well.
Yeah.
I see this having applications as more of a value type of like I'm not really a reanimator deck, but I'm going to play this game where I'm 1-for-1ing threats with you, and then I'm going to get one of them back eventually.
Yeah, so the build that I saw this and I'm like, okay, what would I play this in? I want to play, what's it called? It was also reprinted in this set. Angelic Renewal, that if a creature dies, it comes back. And Muldrifter, Striped Riverwinder, and some control spells. Just Counterspell, Journey to Nowhere, you know, like that kind of thing.
Blue-white value mid-range deck, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, oh my gosh. How did I not even think about the curve on this? Turn 3, Muldrifter, Evoke. Turn 4, Resurrection. How did I not even think about that?
You missed, so you play Angelic Renewal turn 2, evoke your Muldrifter, draw 4 cards, and then they're like, well, gotta get rid of the Muldrifter, and then you're like, Resurrection? And then you have to discard to hand size and laugh and laugh.
Oh man, I'm definitely trying this out.
I'm just so glad we have an actual reanimation spell now.
Yeah. Next card. Is it my turn? Yeah, it's my turn. Tethmos. High Priest. Yeah, Tethmos. I don't know, but it's also from that set where everything was like Greek.
Just a bunch of letters could just possibly be silent, so it could just be Temos. No, the Temos is silent.
Tethmos. I don't know. He is a 2/3 creature cat cleric with heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Tethmos, High Priest, return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So obviously, the obvious place for this is the heroic deck, right?
A heroic-ish deck, I think.
2 of at the top of your curve to get back all your other creatures when they've killed them.
I don't know, because I think your enchantment spells are really what you're kind of like. You're not restricted on like I don't have enough guys. Usually, it's I don't have enough creature. I don't have enough enchantments and stuff. So I would kind of say that this guy's in a separate deck. I think he's very, very good, and like the things that he enables are gonna just be crazy. Like we don't get multiple triggers to do actual card advantage things in Pauper really that often. So this card's like an exceptional card to me. Like being able to put like Rancor on this guy and just like he's just bringing back all of your like benevolent bodyguards and stuff like that just as extra protection. So every time you're like, okay, I'm an Apostles, you don't even Apostles Blessing, you're in white. So you're just like, I'm just gonna, God's willing my guy, get back my benevolent bodyguard. Like, I've seen people, like a lot of people are saying green. Green is the color you're putting with this guy.
Yeah.
so that you can do things like Rancor and then bring back your Kasali Pride Mage. There's some really powerful 1 and 2 cost spells in white that... Oh, one of the things I wanted to do is there's like a poet. It's like a 1-drop, and you can like tap it.
Poet?
Tragic Poet. Can I read that card?
It's a 1/1 for white from Dominaria?
Oh yeah, they reprinted it. Yeah, they printed it back in like Urza's whatever with the hammer.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know they reprinted it, but it's a single white for a 1/1.
You should draft more. You'd know these things.
No. You can tap, sack it, return an enchantment from your graveyard to your hand, enchant your guy, return your Tragic Poet, play your Tragic Poet, next turn repeat, get all of your enchantments out of your graveyard attached to your now indestructible Tethmost High Priest. Yeah, I'll do that. Sounds good to me. You ready to move on?
Yeah.
The card is Sky Spear Cavalry.
Wow.
It is... What?
It's the cavalry.
Cheers, love. Sky Spear Cavalry's here. It is 3 white for a flying double strike creature that is a 2/2. I don't think this card cuts it.
No. Just pray her spear reaches you first, because her griffin is less kind.
And her spear doesn't look very friendly.
No.
Yeah, this card's not anything to write home about.
It's just too much mana.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Like, I can't even get excited because, yeah, Pauper doesn't have that many double striking effects other than like on spells that have double strike. So it's like, oh yeah, we get a guy, but if you pay 5 mana for a dude,
yeah, 5 mana for a 2/2 with double strike. Nice disfigure, bro.
Nice Core Skyfisher.
Well, this would kill a core sky. Oh no, it would trade with it. It would just
trade with
it.
Not good enough.
Stupid. That's bad. That card's bad. Just really bad. Wandering Champion. 1 and a white for a 3/1 human monk. Whenever Wandering Champion deals combat damage to a player, if you control a blue or a red permanent, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. This card has 1 toughness, so should we just move on?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, this card, I just don't think this card is even close to playable at all.
It's hard to construct a scenario where I have a blue or a red permanent.
And then that your X1 is going to connect.
Yeah, then my X1 connects, and then the effect is like, draw, discard. Oh, that's...
No, its effect is discard, then draw.
Oh, even
so you
worse.
You don't even get the extra information of like, what do I discard? This card is just bad.
Yeah, it's just flat.
Bad with a capital A.
Capital
bad. Ad. Speaking of bad, let's talk about this next card.
The next card is Foil. It is 2 blue for an instant. It says you may discard an island and another card rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Counter target spell.
Oh, the sky is falling. Oh, Wizards only prints blue cards that are good. Ban Gush, ban Brainstorm. The format's ruined.
We can't handle it. So I did see someone be like, why is it always blue that it's only blue that gets all the good cards? This is our one and only blue card besides Fire Ice, and that's not even like it's mostly a red card. Fire Ice is mostly a red card.
Guildmage is halfway blue.
Yeah.
So
and it's not pushing the power
between
level.
Ice and Dimir Guildmage, we have 2 blue cards on our list.
Wow.
2 halves make a 1, and 1 plus foil is 2. Oh my gosh! So, can I talk about this?
Yeah, go.
I don't think this is good. I mean, like, obviously it's a free counterspell, and that's super powerful. Like look at Force of Will. That card's powerful. But like, I also just want to say, like, look at the context of Legacy, right? Like, that it's just a different thing. Like, you want a free counterspell, even if you have to 2-for-1 yourself. This card is a 3-for-1, and it's, I think, a lot more narrow because you need an island, specifically an island. I think that having an island in your hand is just going to be harder than having a blue card, even with Gush in your deck. Like, I mean, unless you're playing like 4 Gushes in your deck, I don't know. But like, I just don't ever. I'm thinking about all these matchups that I could be playing, and I'm just not thinking of any one matchup where I'm just like, yeah, I really need a free counterspell to not die, and I'm willing to 3-for-1 myself for it. I just see myself like, ha! Foil your core Skyfisher. Now you're insanely ahead. Ha! Yeah. Foil one of your elves. Oh, you have more elves? Oh, well, I just 3-for-1 myself, and you've still got a bunch of threats I need to kill. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think
like a free counterspell is so powerful, and I think that people are just like, free counterspell for the Gush decks.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing.
I think you're echoing exactly what I think. Our format is about incremental advantage, and there's the speed. The speed does matter. I won't say that foil will never get played. I can never discount how much a counter there's the safety net of you could just play it for 4, but I don't think that we're in a place where the spells matter that much.
Yeah, I don't think that we can ever like discount how powerful a free spell is ever. Right? Like, free spells are always good. I think we've learned that from Phyrexian mana and stuff like that. But you've got to think about the opportunity cost that comes with this one. Gitaxian Probe is 2 life for a card.
Yeah.
I'll pay 2 life for a card. Foil is an island and 2 cards for their card. Like, you've got to be really thinking about, I don't know, what you're trying to counter with your foils to make that even remotely worth it.
Like, imagine literally any card in Boros Monarch. You're on the losing end of that, no matter what.
Think of this card in any Delver Mirror, horrible. Think of this card in the Boros matchups, horrible. I think about this card in the other aggressive linear strategies, horrible, because now they still just have so many threats, and I've 3-for-1 myself to deal with 1 threat. And sure, that maybe bought me a turn or 2, but the elf deck is still just going super wide on me. The burn deck is still up 2 cards on me, which is essentially 2 cards is 6 life. I have a really hard time accepting that this is something I ever want to play with under very strict circumstances. Like, I could get behind foil against Tireless Tribe, all-in combo decks, where I can 3-for-1 myself because I really only need to worry about 1 or 2 spells out of your deck.
It's good against combo decks, but combo decks aren't rampant in our format.
No, they're not. Like, this isn't Legacy where my opponent casts Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal, sack Lotus Petal, duress you. Like, that's not happening in this format.
Yeah.
They're not infernal tutoring and reanimating their Grizzlebrands and show and telling their Emrakuls.
Yeah, you're not. There's nothing on turn 0 that's like so must counter that you're just like, oh no. Like,
I will say, however, that like Gush foil is a powerful line. Like, I'm going to respond to what you're doing. Gush foil. That's a powerful line because you're sort of like, you're still kind of like at parity on cards almost. I don't know. You're still behind because like you had to still discard 2 cards. You drew 2 cards with the foil. You discarded 2 of them. So like you've sort of spent your Gush and then you spent your foil to trade with their other card. So like you're sort of at parity still. But part of me just thinks that people are like drastically underestimating the amount of time that like you have Gush. Like, most Gush decks play 2 Gush, with the exception of Tribe. I don't know, maybe Tribe wants this card.
That's the only one I could think is
as an extra way
plausible,
to protect them.
But it's like a one of. You can't play 2 foil,
for sure.
really.
Yeah, for sure. But it's already got Circular Logic, and that card's so insane in that deck. But yeah, like that is a powerful line, but I don't want to build my deck with 4 copies of Gush in it just so I can put a couple copies of foil into my deck.
I've built decks with 4 copies of Gush in it, and you run out of land drops. Like, you don't have enough to keep up.
Well, when a lot about our format is, like you said, incremental advantages, mana advantage is a very crucial part of that. Being able to hit turns where you're double spelling, or I have mana to deploy a threat and have interaction on their turn. That gets harder when you're gushing aggressively, which is why Gush is better in your main phase. Having foil in your deck now relegates you to wanting to gush on your opponent's turn. You'd rather be gushing in your main phase when Gush can act as a ramp spell for you.
And I'm willing to entertain the idea that maybe there's a deck out there that hasn't been made yet that foil makes possible. Like, I don't know exactly what you're doing. Maybe it's like some kind of madness deck where you're like, okay, they play a spell and you're just like, sweet, pitch my island, pitch my arrogant worm or basking rootwalla. I'm now crazy ahead, something like that. But
yeah, that actually sounds good. I could get into that.
I'm super glad it's in the format. I just don't think that it's immediately getting slaughtered into the decks that exist in a big way.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think that this card just fits into decks. I don't think that this just goes into every blue deck. You know, this isn't Force of Will. I think that if this card's going to be good, it's going to create an archetype, like you said. You know, there's going to be a deck that comes up. You know, you've got to construct your deck a very specific way to support foil. And I just don't think the decks we have right now are built that way. And I don't necessarily believe that we want to adjust them to fit foil. And I'm certainly willing to be proven wrong on this, because a lot of the great minds of our format certainly believe that this card is going to just absolutely turn the format on its head. And so I'm willing to be proven wrong here. I'm just struggling to see it.
If it's going to be in any deck, I think it would be like mono blue Delver. I think Scred Delver is a little bit too awkward, but I think I can see a world where someone constructs a mono blue Delver deck that does do this, where it's faster, it needs more control, like you're playing like your dazes, so you've got like tons of free counter spells. You can have 12 counter spells in your deck, plus like you got your counter spell, daze, spell stutter, some number of foil, and you don't necessarily need as many lands in play, but you know, daze or Gush are really good with foil. I just don't know, like, what's that extra card? I want something that isn't just, okay, my least favorite card out of my hand, because I want all the cards in my hand, really. And if it's just 2 land, eventually I'm missing a land drop, and that feels bad unless I'm gushing, and you know, you're not always gonna have Gush. So foil's a weird conundrum that I wasn't as excited about it as everyone else. I was just like, is it even playable is my question, rather than are we going to be able to survive like the internet did.
I think I'm on the same boat. I'm in the exact same camp as you, as I'm struggling to see where I want to put this card. I also thought initially about mono blue Delver, and I think that of the Delver options, that is the best. I think it's already the one built most to support it. I certainly wouldn't fault anyone for putting a couple copies into their blue Delver decks. Overall, I just really struggle to see this being good in a format like Pauper, where those incremental advantages are so important. I have a really hard time wanting to ever 3-for-1 myself in 95% of the matchups I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, even in mono blue Delver, I don't know. Okay,
Yeah, I'm still
done
just
talking
not
about
sure
this.
if I want a 3-for-1 myself in mono blue Delver. I'm certainly open to being proven wrong. I'm excited to sort of see what this card does. I'm skeptical about it warping the format in a major way, though.
How about green blue Delver? That might be it, because you can play your
Green
madness
blue
spells.
Delver with madness.
Yeah, you can play your Tilling Tree Folk for tons of cards to get out of your graveyard and discard. Okay, there we go. We solved it.
I could be into that. This sounds cool.
It enables your Nimble Mongoose.
Ooh. Yeah, this card turns on Threshold so fast.
I think, that's why I like it. I don't want to get... I think I want to hedge all of the excitement. It's not going to ruin or make the decks that exist too strong, but the brewing possibilities are huge. So that's why I'm still excited about it.
Yeah, I guess we should probably just clarify that. We don't hate this card. We don't think it's awful and playable. We're excited about it, but we don't think the format is broken in half.
We're not huddled in a corner just like, don't
praying to the gods, please save us.
I'm going to just cast all my foils for 4 mana. Next up, it's your card.
I guess if you're in the business for a 4-mana counterspell, just make Devious Cover-Up work. That card is gas.
That shuts off Threshold.
You're right. Well, then don't play a Threshold deck.
Get out of
Devious
here.
Cover-Up is so gas. When you get that Devious Cover-Up lock on them and you're just like, Devious Cover-Up your spell. Put back 2 Devious Cover-Ups into my deck. There's no coming back.
No.
Our next card is Awful Snout. Awful Snout. It is 2 and a black for a 2/2. It's an elemental. It's a slug, spider, pigworm.
The old art is way better on this. It looks more like a pig. So go look that up if you have time.
Huh. I just assumed this was the old art because this looks very Morningtide to me. Anyway.
Look it up.
It is a 2/2 with flash. It says when Awful Snout leaves the battlefield, exile target card from a graveyard. Evoke for a single black.
I'm 0 excited for this.
Yeah, same. I think that, like, if you're in the business of exiling graveyards and you really don't want to exile your own graveyard and you're in black anyway, play Nihil Spellbomb?
Or Beckon Apparition.
Or Beckon Apparition. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. I said that this is probably the closest we're ever going to get to a Surgical Extraction in this format. Just a 1-mana instant speed way to target something out of a graveyard. And then Sean was like, well, Beckon Apparition exists. And I was like, well, that card makes a 1/1, so it's just better than Surgical Extraction, right? Surgical Extraction is like negative on cards.
Yeah.
Beckon Apparition gives you a 1/1, which has got to be worth at least a third of a card.
This is not a good card.
No, not really. Seriously, like Relic of Progenitus, Nihil Spellbomb. You've got a lot of good options. You don't need to be putting. And I like Fairy Macabre.
Fairy Macabre. Yep.
If you're just so desperate for something else, play Fairy Macabre.
Because I was like, what I always do is construct a scenario, construct a deck that this fits its niche. It's a Cascade Exhume deck. That's the only thing I could think of. And then I was like, oh yeah, Fairy Macabre exists, which is just flat better. I'll just not think about Awful Snout anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Next card, we have Moan of the Unhallowed. It is 2 black for a sorcery. It creates 2 black. It creates 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, and it has flashback for 5 black. This is so expensive that I don't see it doing much.
That's my thing. This card could be really, really good if the flashback side wasn't 7. Also, I don't know.
It makes a lot of power of dudes.
It does. It puts 8 power on the board for a total of 11 mana.
I'm okay. I can see someone trying it, and like it does. Like people play Chainer's Edict, people flash back Chainer's Edict. Those things happen. Black can definitely stall a game in Pauper where everything is a creature, and like there's things going for this card. It's diversifying your bodies. It's more than one body.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I'm still not super high on this card.
I'm not super high on it either, but I will admit that it has some things going for it.
Yeah, agree.
What if you discarded this to foil? And then you just flashed it back for 7 since, you haven't tapped any of your mana since it's free. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say words. Read the next card.
Slum Reaper. 3 and a black for a 4/2 horror. Horror. I can't. That's such a hard word to say. Horror. That's such a hard word to say. I don't know why I can't wrap my head around pronouncing that word. When Slum Reaper enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature.
All right, so remember when we were doing our wish list and we were like, hey, we want a removal on a stick and we want it to do all this stuff. They were like, we got you, bro.
Slum Reaper.
Downside. Take that. I'm not big on this card at all.
Yeah, this isn't even I don't know, this is just a worse version of other Sacrifice Edict creatures. This isn't a new effect. Creatures like this have existed for a long time, but they're usually 3 mana. And so they just gave us the worst one.
This is unique to Pauper. This is new.
Right.
We don't have this yet.
I'm not saying we do.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that there are a bunch of other better versions of this. And they've just given us the worst one.
There's there are 3 ones and stuff, so the bodies would be terrible. So
there's a 2/2.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there are better ones. And they're also just 3 mana. So you don't feel bad about them being the cards you sacrifice. So it's just I traded my 3 mana for your creature, right? This is I don't know, you pay 4 mana for it, and then hopefully you have something else to sacrifice. But then at the end of the day, you're just left with a 4/2. Which, I don't know. That's just not an impressive body to me. The power is nice, but 2 toughness I'm not super big about. Yeah, it just trades with something else. So,
yeah, I don't think that this is seeing any play at all.
Yeah.
Next, we're on to our red cards. We have Arena Athlete that is 1 and a red for a 2/1 human. It has heroic whenever you cast a spell that targets Arena Athlete. Target creature an opponent controls can't block this turn. I am negative excited about this card. I don't care.
This could be interesting in some sort of red deck wins where you just go wide with a bunch of derpy derps and then you just need a way to push through damage.
All right, so if in that deck you don't want enchantments, you're not targeting your Arena Athlete ever. So you're just playing Goblin Heel Cutter.
Yeah, but now you have more. You have more Goblin Heel Cutters.
Well, why? You play it's heroic. You have to play enchantments.
Dragon's Breath and Titan's Strength.
That's so stupid.
It won a GP. Tom Ross disagrees with you. He's smart, okay? He works for R&D.
This is Pauper?
So?
No,
Pauper
I mean...
doesn't even have a GP, so obviously... This card's bad.
Yeah.
Molten Rebirth. 1 and a red for a sorcery. Create 2/1/1 red elemental creature tokens. Then flip a coin. If you win the flip, return Molten Birth to its owner's hand. This card's so cool.
I hate coin flip cards. So
I think
bad.
they're the best.
Worst mechanic.
My favorite thing ever was when I ultimated my Ral Zarek in Standard and got 0 of my flips. I flipped 5 coins. I lost all 5 flips.
What happens when you win?
You take an extra turn for each one you win.
Oh my gosh. So stupid. Yeah. So stupid.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Sean says you ran the numbers on this.
I wanted to see if this was better than Hordling Outburst. So the way the math works out with Molten Rebirth is it approaches 4 on average. On average, you're going to get 4 out of this. And that is if you have infinite mana. Because, so the math is like 50% of the time you're only going to get 2. But then 25% of the time you're going to get 4. And then it's like, was it 12.5% of the time you're going to get 6. And 7% of the time you're going to get 8. And it keeps going like that. And the way it works out is
also spending 3 mana every single time you need to do this too, right?
Yeah. So this is really expensive if you get more than like 2, and a lot of the time you're just better off paying for the Hordling Outburst. I just want to say
the Hordling Outburst is the same mana cost, and you get the extra 1/1 guaranteed. Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, this card is not good. I even think that like Molten Birth. I've been calling it Molten Rebirth. It's just Molten Birth.
Oh, it's Molten Birth. Yeah, I have a hard time searching for this because I call it Rebirth every time.
I even think that like Molten Birth and Hordling Outburst were in the same standard format. This card wasn't even like on the table for playable.
No, yeah. Well, part of the big problem is having the 1/1 out for another turn. Like, okay, say you cast this spell 3 times, or like you say, okay, I have enough time to cast this spell 3 times, and let's do the math. I have 9 mana. It's only slightly better than an average of 3, even with paying 9 mana. So just pay your 3 mana, get your 3 dudes. Whatever cute things you're trying to do off of triggering this, like, you're gonna get slapped in the face and just like, you just made 2 dudes. Like, that is gonna happen. And I don't like this card.
Cool. What's our next one?
Our next card is Reckless Worm. It is 3 red for a 4/4 worm. It has Trample and Madness. Its Madness cost is 2 and a red. So this is exactly like Arrogant Worm, but color shifted to red.
Yes.
I think this is exactly as playable as Arrogant Worm, which is actually kind of playable, and this existing makes Arrogant Worm more playable.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually in the same color as most of the discard spells, so maybe like more of a mono red discard deck can start to develop. I think there's some really good tools in that strategy, but still not exciting enough for like a whole strategy to be like, okay, this is a thing now. I think it's still a tier 2 strategy, but I think it's really good that we got Reckless Worm.
I think I agree with everything that you said about this card. Next card is Spark Spitter. 2 and a red for a 1/3 elemental spell shaper. That's a new one.
Spell shaper. Weird.
Red. Tap. Discard a card. Create a 3/1 red elemental creature token named Spark Elemental. It has Trample, Haste, and at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice Spark Elemental.
So for the tokens for this, do you just cut off like the bottom half of a Spark Elemental? Or no, you'd leave that. What do you do?
Probably just use the tokens that come in this set that are 3/1s.
But I want to use my Spark Elementals because they're
Trample
useless.
and Haste, and have at the beginning of your end step sacrifice Spark Elemental and are called Spark Elemental. That's
Fine.
probably what I would do.
I'll just glue a red mana sticker onto my tokens, and then I'll just put those in my deck.
Here's an idea. Don't worry about it because this card's not going into any of your decks.
I know, but I had to say words about it, and so I decided to be a little snot.
Okay. Well, we have said words about this card, and if you're still unclear about how we feel, well, I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, so next card is ending our little dry spell of not very exciting cards. I think this is exciting. It is Groundskeeper. It is a single green for a 1/1 human druid that has an activated ability of a green and a colorless. And it says return target basic land card from your graveyard to your hand. So that doesn't look that exciting on paper. But
Retrace.
But there are a lot of things you can do with lands that you're getting out of your graveyard, like discarding them to discard effects, discarding them to retrace effects. Heck, foil. This works with foil. Like,
Yeah.
you pay. Listen to this. You go colorless green, return a basic, colorless green, return a basic, and then you can play foil without paying its mana cost, and you've only paid 4 mana for it. Huh? Am I a genius? Plus the cost of Groundskeeper.
Wow.
But in all reality, I think Groundskeeper is super cool.
Yeah, I do too. I'm excited about this card. I don't do much brewing. One of the few things that I have tinkered with and still am in love with the idea of is the card Sen's Enlistment. I love that card. Yeah, I know Battle Screech is better. Shut up, everyone right now who's listening. I know. But you know what Battle Screech doesn't have going for it? Kithkin. The second best tribe in Magic history.
After?
Slivers.
Slimes? Oh.
Anyway, I for a while I was messing with like an Abzan Tortured Existence deck with all the copies of Tilling Tree Folk, and I had like a single Raven's Crime and a single Sen's Enlistment in the deck, and it was cool. It wasn't good, but I love me some little Kithkins. Like Sen's Enlistment. That card is sweet. Anyway, Groundskeeper would just be like the exact thing I would want in that deck. I'm excited about like the potential possibilities for this card.
Yeah, I think it'll pop up in some brews for sure.
Yeah, it's going to enable some fun stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Next card. Oh, it's you, isn't it?
Probably. Miming Slime. 2 and a green for a sorcery. Create an XX green ooze creature token where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. No good.
But this makes my imagination just pop. Just like, oh, but we're fine. My imagination probably needs to be put under control, but I'm just like, we're finally building green-red Kiln Fiend. I don't know.
Green-red monsters? I wouldn't put this in a deck with Kiln Fiend.
Why? It's automatically a 4/4.
Yeah, but you could put it in a deck with Gurmag Angler, and then it's automatically a 5/5. Gotcha!
Yes, I know. I know it's not super great, but you know, it's one of these days it's gonna make a 9/9 or something like that.
Yeah, so like the ceiling on this card is super high, right? But so is the floor.
No, right? It's super low.
You really gotta climb up to that floor. Because like sometimes it's just gonna make a 0/0, and it's just gonna be uncastable. Like you're gonna cast it, and then you're gonna be like killing your guy, and now you have no power on the board. Yeah, you're just stuck in the basement. You're just under the floorboards, just like let me out. I'm trying to be an ooze.
Meanwhile, your brother's in the other room, and he's tormenting your sister and the cat.
The cat.
Talk about the cat.
No one even knows where the cat is. The cat's watching while your brother torments your sister and steals your TV, and all this while you're under the floorboards just trying to be an ooze.
And then you do a 180, and you got your zombie fish, and he just eats you.
Yeah, so just play more zombie fishes.
I don't know where that went.
Nothing can stop the smooth. Bow,
Okay.
bow, 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 bow. I bet no one knows what that reference is.
I don't.
My sister watched My Little Pony, so I understand that reference.
Okay, next card. We got one card out of a cycle randomly for no reason.
I'm so pissed off about this.
Let me read the card. It's Dimir Guildmage. It is 2 hybrid mana, blue or black. It is a 2/2 human wizard, and it has 2 activated abilities. The first is 3 and a blue, and it says target player draws a card. Activate this ability only time you could activate a sorcery. And the other one is 3 and a black. Target player discards a card. Blah, 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 sorcery.
I'm so just about this because this card got spoiled, right? And I was just like, it's happening.
We're getting guild mages.
Guild mage cycle. I just want to play with Selesnya Guild Mage.
We got one.
He's got one, and we got one of the worst ones.
I honestly don't know what they do. Any of them.
I guess like the Izzet one's not good, and the Boros one's kind of meh. The Selesnya one is dope. That's just the one I wanted, was the Selesnya one. Just make tokens, bruh.
I feel like there was a bunch of cards that they added to this, and I sent you this when we were not on the show, but I was talking to you about they put a bunch of cards in the set to enable archetypes. Like, we got a reprint of Mad Prophet, which no one wanted or cared about. It's just a garbage card that is eating up common slots that you could have opened like a Fire and Ice in.
Yeah. Anyway. I mean, Dimir Guildmage is fine. The fact that you can only do its things at sorcery speed is kind of meh. Especially because these are sort of abilities that you'd want to be able to use at instant speed. Like, I want the option of being able to interact with you, and if you don't do anything, I'm going to draw a card with my Dimir Guildmage. Or, like, you have no cards in hand. Draw step. Discard your card. But you can only do these things at sorcery speed, and they're 4 mana. That's like your entire turn to draw a single card or to make your opponent discard a card, and that's just bleh.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 2/2 bear. Like, it's a 2/2
bear.
for 2. And so, like, I keep coming back to, this card is fine, but I can see turns where you're like, well, I have to activate the ability. Oh, bad things happened. Like, frequently. So, I think fine isn't good enough to see constructed play, and I don't think it'll...
I don't even know if I would call it fine. I would put it like a notch below fine.
Okay.
I think it's just kind of a meh. I was more excited about this when I thought that it meant, like, I thought that this heralded the coming of the other guild mages, and I was excited about that. And then, no, he just came on his own.
Leave it up to the Dimir.
To poop on my party. To rain on my parade.
All right, let's move on.
Canker Abomination. 2 hybrid black-green for a 6/6. Wow, 4 mana 6/6. As Canker Abomination enters the battlefield, choose an opponent. Canker Abomination enters the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it for each creature that player controls.
A bit win more, but I think it's good. Like, I think it's good enough.
I think about like this in a finisher and like a more controlling mid-range deck where you're very often going to be playing this onto an empty board of like, I've just spent the whole game killing your threats, and then I paid 4 mana for this on a turn where I have like 6 or 7 mana in play, you know, where you can still set up turns where you're like, removal spell on whatever you just played, this guy.
Yeah,
I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's
meh. I think it's also just meh. I don't know if I would ever play this in my deck. I think I would just, if I was ever going to think about putting a big finisher into my deck, I'm just always going to try to make Gurmag Angler work.
Yeah, that's what ends
Because
up
Gurmag
happening.
Angler's always going to be a 5/5.
Yeah.
This card's more often than not going to be a 5/5 or like a 4/4. And if it's 5/5, you paid 3 more mana for it than you would of your Gurmag Angler. So
it does encourage you. I like cards that encourage you to play your cards correctly, and this does encourage you to remove all of your opponent's threats and then, boom, lay out your 6/6 or 5/5. And
yeah,
that's not altogether bad. It's really easy to cost since it's hybrid mana, so it's got things going for it. I don't think you're playing this in like a mono green deck or anything since you don't have removal.
no, it's definitely going into a base black deck. My biggest thing with it is that this card is only good when you're at parity or just ahead anyway. You know, if you're behind and you just need a way to try to stabilize the board, this card is not going to be it, because it's going to come down as a 3/3 or a 2/2 that you paid 4 mana for.
Yeah, it is pretty win more. And
yeah,
the best strategies in the format have a lot of creatures in it. If like it's really still Scred Delver, and Boros Monarch are the 2 top decks in my mind, and this is not good against those. It's not good against Tron since they don't care about a 6/6. So I'm ready to move on. I don't think that's going to see much play.
Nope. This card, however, we think will.
Oh, yes. It is Fire Ice. Let me turn my head on my side. So it's a split card. Like one of the only split cards they printed in here, weirdly.
Yeah.
It is the fire half is a red and a colorless for do 2 damage divided as you choose, and ice is a colorless and a blue. Tap target permanent, draw a card. So you can only cast 1/2 of these at a time, but a lot of the time you're just casting the fire half, and we love to beat up on X1s, and that does this. There's a lot of bears in our format, or 2 toughness creatures.
I love the idea of tapping their Augur Bolus to hit them with my Ninja the Deep Hours.
Yeah, and we went into a lot of details on this on the previous episode, but like,
yeah, we did.
Fire Ice is a very good card. We see it getting played. I would say if a deck is looking for a new card to put in, whether they're choosing between foil and Fire Ice, it's more likely going to be Fire Ice, I guess, unless they don't have any red. But
yeah,
what are you doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah, not playing red in your deck.
Oh yeah, you're stupid. You're so bad, bro, because lightning bolt and fire. Fire, fire.
Is that a Beavis and Butthead joke?
Yeah. You didn't like it?
I've never enjoyed that show.
I didn't either, but I don't actually think I've even seen an episode of it. I just know the voices. All right.
I only know the voices from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
Yes, that is why I know the voices, because Weevil Underwood and Rex Raptor are Beavis and Butthead in that. And because a comedian, I heard a comedian do like he talked about a time he went to a monster truck and tractor pull show, and he was just like, it was just like a giant Beavis and Butthead convention. All around me, I just heard, oh, hey, Beavis. That truck is cool. Yeah, set it on fire. That's how I know. That's where I actually got this from. It was a comedian who did that. So that's the only way I know those voices. Vessel of Endless Rest.
This one puts me to sleep.
Yeah, it's a 3 mana artifact. 3 generic. When Vessel of Endless Rest enters the battlefield, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. And my least favorite line of text in Magic, add 1 mana of any color. I just feel like those sentences are so incomplete. They just bug me. And I'm not going to put this card in any decks that I play just on principle. Because it's like, bad and unplayable.
He's like, tap? I'll choose magenta, and I'll put that mana in my graveyard because it was unclear.
It just says add 1 mana of any color. Add 1. I guess like of any color sounds a little better than add 1 mana. Add 1 blue mana.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we had to get rid of the mana pool. Was that really something so confusing for new players? Like when you tap your mana, you get mana. Oh, well, what happens if like a weird scenario where I need to tap my mana and not use it? Well, that gets stored in your mana pool and it drains between phases. Oh, is that really so difficult to understand that we had to just get rid of it? Add 1 mana. I just hate it.
We've had this discussion so many times.
It's really not even that bad. It just bugs me. I don't know why it bugs me. It just bugs me. Holy crap. What is your top 5?
Okay. Let's start at number 5.
I'm so mad at Vessel of Endless Rest.
Number 5, Reckless Worm. Yeah, I think both of our number 5 slot. I think we've got 4 strong cards, and then we've got our iffy number 5. I think I chose. Actually, I know I did because it was me that made the decision. I chose Reckless Worm as my number 5 because I just thought it was gonna see the most play.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I think of our 2 number 5 picks, yours is the most likely to see play. I think my number 5 pick is the most likely to be better if it sees play, if that makes sense. Like, no, you don't think so?
No, I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Oh.
What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Groundskeeper. So I think that this is less likely to see play, but if it does see play, it's probably enabling something inherently broken. I think I said this, but this card is just like Life from the Loam, right? But better because it's a 1/1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted my Life from the Loam to beat in for 1 and then die.
And definitely, it only costs triple the mana cost to get the same rate. Also, it doesn't dredge.
+1.
You know what? I'm stretching really far. Life from the Loam is a messed up Magic card. Groundskeeper's not even close. I can't even like joke about this one. It's not even close. Life from the Loam is a messed up Magic card, but I think Groundskeeper is really cool, and I'm excited about it. What's your number 4?
Resurrection. So what kept this from being higher on my list is just that I had to construct a scenario where this sees play, and I don't think that this automatically lends itself to like the color it's in doesn't have discard effects or big creatures. So it has to be mixed with another color, and you can't move up to 3 colors very easy without slowing down your deck a lot, and this already costs a lot of mana. So I don't know.
Yeah. And that's actually also my number 4 for probably the same reasons. No one ever gets to know why I was laughing. That's just for me and you. That was just for me and you.
All right, that's weird.
So I think it is weird. And I hope it leaves our viewers wanting more. So they'll come back next week. Maybe I'll tell them why I was laughing, but I won't.
Keep going. This is over an hour.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I agree with you on everything you said about Resurrection.
All right, what's your number 3 then?
Foil!
No, wait, did you say what your number 4 was?
Yeah, Resurrection. I agree with you on everything you said about Resurrection. That was my number 4.
Okay.
Which was also your number 4. And my number 3 is Foil. What's your number 3?
It's Foil.
Wow. Yeah. I think that this card is powerful because like free card is always a powerful effect, but like it's not really free because no free lunch.
Yeah, you're paying a steep cost in terms of card advantage.
And I think in deck building, because you've got to construct your deck in a way that makes this card work. This card just doesn't go into every single blue deck like a lot of people seem to think it will.
Yeah, so we just don't have it always comes down to what are you countering? Okay, that's not worth 3 cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, these words had to, like, I almost went through the whole show without saying it, but like, would we even play Force of Will in our format? Probably, because it's
I've
a
asked
lot less
myself-
narrow. Blue
I've asked
cards,
myself the same question.
blue
Many
cards are a
times.
lot less narrow than Island,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a tough question because it's just the threats in our format just.
They're not things I'm excited about Force of Willing, and even in I don't know. I think about Legacy, like Leovold, True Name Nemesis.
Yeah.
These are all threats that you probably want to counter, but
And those are the fair
decks-
deck threats.
yeah, the fair deck threats. Yeah, but those are even those are even the decks where you're likely boarding out your Force of Wills anyway.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I'm just gonna try to deal with this True Name Nemesis with my -2/-2 kicker thing. I can't remember what that card's called. Or -1/-1. It gives -1/-1 to everything. It's from Zendikar. It's black spell.
Shrivel?
No. It's got kicker.
Oh.
It's played in Legacy sideboards because of True Name Nemesis. Or like Toxic Deluge is something you want to do. Like,
I know what Toxic Deluge is.
yeah, I don't see, like, even those threats like that, people aren't excited about Force of Willing. Like, they're just wanting to 1-for-1 those threats instead of 2-for-1 those threats.
Yeah, they just don't want to get comboed out of the game. And
And that's why they have Force of Will, is because you're going to get paired with someone who goes turn 1 Swamp Duress, and then you go crap. And then they go Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond, you're dead.
like, yeah, we just
That doesn't happen in Pauper. Yeah.
our weakest archetype is combo, and like even against elves, like I guess elves, you're like, okay, I got their lead the stampede, and I like basically 1-for-1 to them, kinda, because if you didn't, then they would have drawn 4 cards.
Right, but like your elf opponent still probably has like 4 or 5 threats
Yeah.
in play that you also need to deal with, but just 3-for-1 to yourself, like, you know, even because even our combo decks are creature based, and you just more rather be 1-for-1ing or 2-for-1ing them. You don't. There's not very many matchups where it's just like they have a singular threat that as long as that doesn't resolve, I can win the game. It doesn't matter how many cards I have. All I need is a way to kill them, and then everything else needs to just stop that one thing. That's just not really how Pauper works. So
I could see this being lower on my list. I probably like Resurrection more than Foil, and I probably like Reckless more than Foil. But it's sweet.
But the power level of Foil is undeniable. Free Counterspell is strong. We just don't know how strong it actually is in the context of our format.
We don't see it yet. Like, it just don't see
I think that if it's going to be good, it's going to have to have a deck built around it. Something designed to make Foil good, or make, you know, it's not slotting into every blue deck.
That's going to be a really awkward deck. Anyway, yeah, let's move on. I'm so sick of talking about this card.
What's our number 2? Because our lists are actually exactly the same.
They match.
We're looking at it.
I
guess besides our number 5.
Yeah, our 5 was different just because that's but I think these 4 cards are clearly the most powerful. Then number 2 is Tethmost High Priest. I think that card, just being able to repeatably get back, like, it's a card advantage spell. You can do some broken things with it. There are plenty of enchantments in Pauper that you can cast on your guy and then return to your hand, and then cast on your guy, return to your hand. I could see combos. This guy could spawn some combo. Like, quick question. I don't know how the rules work on this, and I usually ask you about rules, and you usually say you don't know.
I usually say that that's what judges are for.
If you grape shotted this guy, would you return more than one guy from your grape? No, okay.
Oh, wait. Let me read exactly what Heroic says. No. Because it says whenever you cast a spell that targets. Grape Shot only gets cast once. You can
Okay.
target it with all the other copies, but you didn't cast those copies. So heroic would only trigger once.
All right. I like this. It's good with guys that sack themselves. Guys that sack themselves are typically pretty strong, and it's good with spells that protect it.
Yeah, I think it's just good in a deck with, I don't know, with just creatures, you know? Like I've got creatures that are inevitably going to die, and I've got, you know, your protection spells, and you just target this guy with those protection spells, get your creatures back. Yeah, I really like the idea of going green with this and having Rancor. I think that sounds sweet. I also really just like a couple of these guys maybe in the sideboard of my heroic deck. For some, you know, those grindier matchups, those edict matchups, you know?
I didn't think about the sideboard.
This card's good.
Yeah, the sideboard I could see like, okay, change gears. I'm grinding. What now? That's weird.
I just need to have more threats. I think this card is really powerful, and I think its effect is powerful, and yeah, I think it definitely deserves to be at number 2. And the only reason it's not at number 1 is because clearly Fire and Ice is the number 1 card.
Wasn't this the first common spoiled, Fire Ice?
Yes, I think so. Probably.
Man, this made me so psyched for the set. I was just like, we're starting off with Fire Ice, and
then they spoiled Dimir Guildmage, and I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and we kept going, and there was like yeah, foil,
and then they spoiled
resurrection.
Foil, and the sky started to fall, and then from there, spoiler season just kind of went like this.
Yeah.
And then there were no other guild mages, and
it's just like, what? Yeah, like I was so excited.
Kind of bummerific.
I was like thinking to myself, like, the buzz was like, they're making Pauper Masters. They're thinking about us, and they just downshifted a whole bunch of cards for us. They're good cards. The set's gonna be the best. Everybody buy a box. But now I'm just like, already got 4 definitely playable cards, maybe a 5th, and then jank. Yeah, Miming Slime. What are you doing?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if I could go higher than my top 5.
Yeah, the next card would just be like, okay, I'll take Groundskeeper, you take Reckless Worm, and that's their number 6.
Yeah, my number 6 is probably Reckless Worm. I have no idea what my number 7 would be.
Yeah, exactly. Number 7.
It would be Molten Birth. I don't know, Moan of the Unhallowed, maybe?
Yeah, it gets so bad. It falls off so quick after that.
Yeah, it does. But oh well. We did get some cool toys. I'm super excited to put a couple copies of Fire and Ice into Skred Delver and just start playing, see how it is. The idea of having fire in the mirror against Spell Stutter Sprite decks is 1, sounds incredible, but 2, sounds awful. Like, my opponent casts a 2-mana spell, or my opponent casts a 1-mana spell. I have a fairy in play, so even if they kill my Spell Stutter Sprite, I can counter their 1-mana spell. Oh wait, they have 2 mana up?
I do have to say, after playing Skred Delver, the ice side feels less appealing, because I've always thought of Delver as this kind of fast tempo deck. And I was like, okay, buying even a turn against like a Gurmag Angler can mean that I'm doing 5 or 6 extra damage. In reality, that's closer to, I'm probably doing 3 to 2 damage. That's more likely. And then they just untap, and things kind of unravel.
I really think like one of the best things that Ice is going to be able to do is help get in hits with Ninja the Deep Hours.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more than happy to cycle a card to draw a card. You know, saying?
Yeah. I'm not saying it's bad. Ice is definitely good,
right.
But
No,
I'm less big on it than I was last week.
No, the reason we're playing this card is for fire. We are playing fire because we want a Forked Bolt. And then Ice is just sort of the gravy on top of, you know, Forked Bolt's bad in this matchup. They're playing Tron. I don't need Forked Bolt. You know, you can make use out of Ice. tap down one of their lands in their upkeep, cycle it, buy yourself an extra turn. It's got applications, but it's not why we're putting the card in the deck.
All right, that's our set review. That's over with.
Bow, 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 bow. Thank you for listening to the Common Knowledge Podcast. I'm just trying to make this go long because Sean's like, we're over an hour.
We're almost to an hour and a half of
Holy cow,
time.
Let's get out of here.
End times.
Thank you for listening. If you like the show and want to support us, you can do so on patreon.com/common knowledge, where you will get access to the Common Coliseum. Is that our only Patreon perk? I just totally blanked.
Yeah. Common Coliseum is our only Patreon perk right now.
Okay.
We're trying to get up to $50 so that we can hit our stretch goal and do a free tournament for everybody who wants to enter. And we're going to give out prizes for that. It's going to be really good for PR, and it's going to be super fun. It's going to be
so fun.
Shows.
And there's going to be some pretty big prizes too. We're giving away coupon codes through puremtgo.com for Magic Online. You're basically just getting store credit. We haven't decided on what the tiers are, but Sean and I are just slowly banking store credit with Pure MTGO. And as soon as we hit $50, we're probably just going to basically give all of it away. So, you're probably going to be able to build at least 1 or 2 decks online, Pauper decks. Who knows? Maybe even a modern deck. Probably not.
Whoa.
Probably not. But
at that point, I'd probably steal a little bit out of that. I'm not giving away that much money. A modern deck.
Yeah, Common Coliseum. We are working on other ideas and stuff, incentives for our Patreon. We'll be rolling those out soon once we have them finalized and everything. The other big way that you can support our show is to support the network that we are affiliated with. The Constructed Criticism Network on YouTube is ever growing. There are constantly new names being added into our group chat that I'm just like, who the crap is this person? Oh, He's a popular streamer, and Spencer's got him to do the Trophy Mages. Or he's doing another podcast. Great. There's all sorts of awesome content. So go to the Constructed Criticism YouTube page, give it a like and a subscribe and a favorite and all that jazz, and just partake in some good Magic content. If you would like to contact us, you can do so via email at thegmail.com. Our email is commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter. You can follow the show at CK Podcast MTG. We have a Facebook group, Common Knowledge. You can follow me at bclark_CK. You can follow Sean at Lobert8. And of course, don't forget to check out his YouTube page. Just search for Lobert. And lastly, huge thank you to our sponsors, puremtgo.com, who are, one, helping our stretch goal happen by providing us with awesome store credits for you guys. And of course, you can check them out to see all their great articles and other Magic-related podcasts. And lastly, ingaming.com. Use coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout for 10% off of your order.
Bye.
Goodbye. Farewell. Good day.
Get
You lose.